both of us, and that gets rid of the share screen. All right, good to know. I need to remove pins and switch to shared content. Okay, so as of today, what is this? January 17th of 2025, the US Supreme Court has agreed, has ruled in favor of a TikTok ban. It is ruled that the the law issued by Congress, or the act rather, um, the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act is constitutional and does not infringe on First Amendment rights, as stated by TikTok and its petitioners. So that being said, there was an argument made in the DC Circuit courts that this encroached on First Amendment rights of the company of TikTok, as well as its content creators, that and it imposed undue burdens on this entity of TikTok, because part of the agreement, or part of what would have to take place to satiate the government, would have to be a de-investment from the Chinese government in this technology, which, quite frankly, is impossible. So they felt that it was an undue burden placed on the company, and that ultimately it would end up censoring the content creators on that platform. Throughout this ruling, Supreme Court seems to address this idea that they, under strict scrutiny, applied like the First Amendment, and they found no reason to believe that this inhibited um, content creation. It doesn't prevent types of content. It just removes a platform, and there are other available platforms for content to be shared on. So that's kind of where we're standing at right now. Um, and yeah, I don't know. So based off, my initial findings, my initial statements. How you feeling about the TikTok ban? You got any feelings towards that?
Me personally, you're asking the wrong guy because, guys, let me take my glass off for this one. I think TikTok is for degenerates. Um, and it kills your attention span. And just, if you really sitting there all day scrolling on freaking TikTok, please find Jesus. Yeah, I'm gonna pray for you. I have no qualms about this. And realistically, like the way we do things over here is like different than how TikTok operates in China, for example. Like their version of TikTok literally has like limitations to how long you can be on the app, time frames that you can be on the app. We don't have that here. Like we just have brain dead degeneracy. And over there, they actually have significantly higher amounts of long form content on TikTok than they do here in the States. I remember reading an article about that. So that's definitely something where it's like, okay, we're over here, just short attention span, 7 seconds, 7 seconds, like Vine, getting dumber and dumber. And it's like, TikTok's going, bye, adios. Go to Instagram Reels, y'all be all right.
But then that imposes the same level of short form content that you're opposed in with TikTok. I don't see how that solves your problem, because then if the same style of content moves to different apps, you still have the same level of degeneracy, in your words.
Well, the only other issue is, right, is that with like Instagram Reels, it's like, although they can be short, I'd say they're slightly longer than the average TikTok. I could be wrong. That could just be a feeling. Same with YouTube Shorts. Could be a feeling. But like whenever I watch a short on like YouTube, for example, I don't watch them that often, but when I do watch them, usually it'd be like a minute long, like at least. Like I've seen something go up to like a minute 30 seconds. Like there's more time than like 10 to 20 seconds allocated to whatever it is and dancing and just it's like I guess that could be the creator doing that and maybe not necessarily the platform, but um it's one of those things where I feel like the like most of the YouTube audience isn't on YouTube for YouTube shorts. Like TikTok was that place for I want super short form content. I'm gonna just scroll for hours and like it's just like TikTok replaced Vine, right? And as much as Instagram and Google try to, or Meta and Google try to replace Vine with Reels and YouTube Shorts, it's just never been as big. So I think TikTok being banned, I don't think those content creators will necessarily be as successful in their short term or short form content on those other platforms. And I could be wrong, but typically a lot of creators, whenever they blow up on one, they'll post their stuff to the other platforms and it won't necessarily be as successful. So, and that could be because of algorithms and a whole bunch of different stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I'm inclined to agree with the Supreme Court's decision to back the TikTok ban. Not for reasons of content or length of content, but more so issues of national security. Um, ByteDance Ltd. is subject to Chinese laws that require it to assist and cooperate with Chinese government's intelligence work and to ensure that the Chinese government has the power to access and control private data. So, this is a governing concept of Chinese corporations. ByteDance is the parent owner of TikTok. So that's concerning. And if anybody has ever read, looked through, or is familiar with TikTok's the means that it acquires data in its terms of service, it is one of the probably most invasive, disgusting breaches of security, unreasonable data collection ever. I think there was a clause inside of the terms of service. It's been a while since I looked at it, but if I'm recalling correctly, that devices that don't have TikTok downloaded but are on the same network as a device with TikTok, that these devices can be detected and information gathered from these devices. It is so even being in the vicinity of somebody with TikTok exposes your data to the Chinese. Um, Feel free to fact check me on that. I could be misconstruing that to some degree, but if I remember correctly, it was something absurd to that degree. So based off that and based off that, yeah, nah, TikTok it's needed to go for a long time now.
I'm kind of curious though, why did Vine go?
No clue. I'd have to look, and I'm sure it was probably just something along the lines of people like the platform dying and moving to other things. Um, let's see. There was also an idea. So I don't think TikTok is going to go away immediately. Um, if you'll notice somewhat in the middle of your screen, um, the Act's prohibitions take 270 days after an application is designated as a foreign adversary controlled application. So I'm not entirely sure when TikTok was designated a foreign adversary, but it's 270 days after that date. So TikTok, while it is officially like we're gonna start seeing it decline, I don't know how soon it will be banned. Because and then the president, which is now going to be Trump in the next 3 days, God rest our souls. But that being said, the president has the option to expand this prohibitionary period for up to 90 days, creating a full year for this prohibitionary period. So we might see TikTok expanded for the next 90 days. We don't
Yeah,
know
TikTok
as of
wasn't
yet.
even designated. I looked it up. It said, it literally says
Feel free to share your
it's
screen
not
as well.
officially designated as one until January 19th.
Then there you go. We have a year effectively after January 19th to use TikTok. I think if the probationary period is what I think it is. So there's that. One thing I did kind of want to note was I believe that Trump has mentioned being in support of TikTok recently, saying that it was influential in him being elected and things of that nature. Do you think that he has any any desire to see TikTok remain inside the United States?
Oh, you're asking me. You're saying, does he have desire to see it remain? I mean, if he verbally said it, I mean, I would assume yes, but I can't necessarily know the man's true intentions. But if he's saying it helped him get elected, I mean, obviously the little stupid dances or whatever, it's like the little Trump dance went viral, and there's like Trump and Kamala fans and supporters were doing stuff back and forth on TikTok, but it's like I don't necessarily think that decided the election personally. So
Sure, I
even if
don't think
he
it
does
did
have a
either.
even if he does have a vested interest in keeping it, I don't think that that point that he made that he said is relevant at all. I He may try to do things to keep it around, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's gonna go. So
Sure, yeah. No, I was just curious because I mean I don't based off his previous executive orders, I believe one was outlined at the top of this Supreme Court ruling. Let me see if I can find it. In August 2020, President Trump issued Executive Order 1394-2 CFR 412 that essentially was attempting to halt the spread or bring attention to the spread of hostile mobile applications developed and owned by companies in China. So I would be inclined to believe, well, agree with you that based off his previous executive actions or executive orders, that we probably won't see large scale support from the president. Um, One thing that's interesting during this prohibitionary period is the president is granted a lot of power in determining if the application is no longer controlled by a foreign adversary. President has final ruling and discretionary power on that ruling. Um, and I'm kind of one of the things that I really disagree with this decision. Like I said, I agree TikTok should go, but I dislike this phrasing in the ruling itself is that we're granting authority to the president to make this decision.
instead of like Congress or something.
Um, well, Congress passes the laws. The executive branch technically would be the executor of the law. So, by that logic, yes, the agencies under the president would be the executors of that law. But this directly conflicts with the idea of Chevron deference, this principle that was ruled on earlier, I think it was like a year, maybe within the last year, where judges, courts, and most of all the Supreme Court have one correct interpretation of law, which would be the Protection of American from Foreign Adversaries Act, that law that was passed. Um, the Supreme Court judicial branch has final say on the interpretation on those laws, and that there is only one correct interpretation. So they remove this idea of deferring to the executive branch, but explicitly defer to the executive branch here. So I dislike the ruling of Chevron difference and then explicitly deferring to the executive. I don't feel like those two things kind of coincide well with each other. So um,
Yeah. But I mean, do you think ByteDance is gonna sell um TikTok and all of its operations to potentially Elon? I know he said he wanted to buy it, or Mr. Beast. He said he wanted to buy it. Do you think they'll just end up selling it overall? Because I'm sure the US market has to be a big driver of their revenue, even over their own people, honestly.
no, I don't imagine they will. Um, yeah, because they have audience elsewhere. While it will be a major hit to the company, I don't anticipate them selling it just to maintain, presence in the United States. Because I do think that this is more than a profit scheme for them, I guess you could say. So I don't know. Um, Nah, I would be inclined to think that they wouldn't sell. I don't even know if they would be. I don't know if they would be able to, truth be told, because part of this clause, there's a de-investment clause in this act that, or in this ruling that states, you have to reasonably de-invest and not have contact with Chinese government and officials for X amount of time since the foundation of the company. I don't know. You'd have to probably consult somebody that deals with the buying and selling of companies. But if an entity changes hands, does the and we rename TikTok, does the does the intellectual property, how does it transfer over? Because if TikTok just gets sold to Meek Mill or Mr. Beast or
Not
Tesla,
not Cheek Mill.
then it's still TikTok. It was still previously in contact with Chinese government, and by definition of the law, it can't be allowed in the United States. So
Even if they
I would have to
even if
know how
they
entities are transferred.
yeah, I was gonna say because realistically, if the entity was owned by somebody else, they changed the name, they're no longer in direct contact with China or China operations. They have whatever facility built out in Austin or California or whatever, where it's another tech building. They run all operations through that building, moderation, blah blah blah, through that building. It's like, does this still stand with that?
Yeah. I think here at the very bottom, where I have underlined, the president must further determine that the divestiture precludes the establishment or maintenance of any operational relationship between the United States operations and that of any formerly affiliated entities that are controlled by a foreign adversary. So maybe, yeah, I think there's a possibility if being bought out. But again, yeah, I'd have to know some laws there, and how exactly that takes place. But yep, I think for now we're gonna see TikTok go bye-bye. Hopefully we'll see people's attention spans return with it, but I don't think that's gonna be the case. I think we're we're too far gone at this point.
But I mean it's crazy because like a third of the US actually uses TikTok. Like it's insane. And then TikTok for like overall users, so the US makes up about 17% of users. I just looked it up. Like that's a lot. That's a lot for them to lose. They're still gonna be making money, but it's like
Yeah,
lose
20% of your client base
20%.
hurts, but
Yeah, that hurts a lot, but because we don't know their profit margins either. So,
I'd imagine they're damn near infinite.
I mean, yeah, but they also have to like, you pay creators and there's obviously ad revenue, but ad revenue can fluctuate. And then if you're paying creators to generate like a certain amount of content and so on and so forth, like that's really kind of how Vine fell off, is that I believe they were paying certain creators too much and it just they weren't bringing in enough to basically sustain. Just like with Netflix making its own content and movies, they're thriving. But I mean, if you lose 20% of your revenue and you had close profit margins, then yeah, that could possibly put them under. But I don't know. I haven't looked at their balance sheet. They're not. I mean, is ByteDance a publicly traded company? Hmm, I don't know. But yeah, I mean
Cool.
that's all I get.
Cool. Well, if that's all we got on that, I'll go ahead and close us out, guys. Or actually, you know what? I'll let you close us out. I think that's all we got on the topic. So take it away, my friend.
Alrighty, guys. I hope you enjoyed being informed on why TikTok's being banned and yeah, when it'll officially be out of your lives. You got probably like 270 days from January 19th. And yeah, if it hurts your feelings and you're gonna miss TikTok, let us know in the comments down below. You're gonna go to Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, where you going? And then, if your attention span increases, come back to this video in like a year or two and be like, hey, bro, I can actually focus on something for like a minute now. It's oh wow. Like, but yeah, guys, let us know and then don't forget to subscribe. And that being said, guys, y'all take it easy. Peace.